on a call recently, and you were talking about the 100-year life, in which you were very cleverly aged, and I'm pleased to see you've returned to your youthful good looks. Perhaps you can touch on that and explain to us all how the things we should be thinking about as we journey through life, in the hope that we can experience this financial well-being in the world worth living in.
Yeah, no, look, the 100-year life is, I think, a really great sort of framing point. And I think that here, a couple of interesting stats. So children born today have a 50% chance of living to 100. It's already been predicted that the first person to live to 150 has already been born. There was something on BBC just last week saying the first person to live to 1,000 may be born. That requires genetic resetting. But let me just go back 100 years. You know, it wasn't that long ago that pensions were kind of created in the UK by Lloyd George. And at the time, life expectancy was 46 for men and 48 for women. And so there was this pension that you kind of got to 60. The retirement age was 60. It got pushed out to 65. So over the course of the 20th century, life expectancy went from 47 to, let's call it, 76. And it is now increasing out and out and out. And it turns out that when we get to 65, the average 65-year-old underestimates their own life expectancy by about 20%. And that's not surprising, because our sense of how long we will live is framed by the life expectancy of our mums and dads. So, you know, if your parents or grandparents died in their mid-70s, you kind of expect that you'll die in your mid-70s or maybe early 80s. You don't think you might be living to 86 or 87. Now, the 100-year life, the cool thing last year, you know, Captain Tom, who sadly passed, but, you know, not only did he raise, you know, game-changing amounts of money for the NHS, but he lived to be 100. And the number of centenarians in the UK and around the world has been doubling every 10 years for the last 20 years. So right now there's almost 600,000 centenarians in the UK. That was double the number in 2010, and that was double the number in 2000. So if you can imagine, the number of people who will be over 100 10 years from now will be over 1 million people worldwide, and that will continue to increase. I suppose let me just turn it around and say, Lee, if you knew you were going to live to 100, would you make different financial decisions? Would you save more? Would you invest more? Would you think differently about the environment? Would you care more about, you know, what happens to our seas, the sea life that's in it, our rainforest, and so forth? And look, let me really make this point. The Queen is 96 years old. Her husband, I hope he's 99 years old. If he makes it, it'll be his 100th birthday in June. So think about it. She's 96. She has children. She has grandchildren. She has great-grandchildren. Her great-grandchildren that are being born right now will live to 100. So they will live, I mean, this is insane, right? They will live to 2,120. She was born in the 1920s. So the Queen right now will have a relationship, will cuddle a child who will be alive 200 years after she was born. So the idea of a 100-year life is to start thinking with this kind of long-term mindset, this kind of concept of being a good ancestor, and thinking in generations, and thinking not just about your children, but your children's children and your children's children's children.
I'd never considered it that way. That's quite a span, 200 years, as far as the Queen's concerned. And I think the message is to start early. Rob, if we know we're going to live to what could be a ripe old age. It's a great answer. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, we talked earlier about the £5 a day, but, you know, people just don't realise that you can open a pension for a child. There's 11,000 children in the UK under the age of 18, and I think there's only about 100,000 actually have a pension. So, you know, opening a pension or a JISA, just little tiny amounts over decades can make a huge. It's an opportunity to secure their financial future, make the world better, and also educate them about how money works and investing.